What is a deed of debt forgiveness? Why would I forgive a debt? What is a debt? We're going to look at how to build a deed of debt forgiveness for maybe a family trust, or maybe it's something that is owed to you from a child. Let us begin. Now, one of the most common uses of a deed of debt forgiveness is to forgive an unpaid present entitlement. This is where the family trust has made a distribution to a mum or dad or a beneficiary of the family trust, but actually doesn't ever pay it. Now, family trusts make distributions that don't actually pay it, so the trust owes that money to the beneficiary sometime in the future. It's called an unpaid present entitlement, a UPE. And sometimes you might want to wind up the family trust, you want to get rid of it, get your balance sheet down, you'll need to do a deed of debt forgiveness. Other times it might be under estate planning, where you are owed money from a child and you want to get rid of that debt and you don't want it contaminating the will. You can put a deed of debt forgiveness in a will, but you can do it actually while you're still alive. Or it might be a commercial transaction where someone owes you money and you've decided you don't want to collect it anymore, you want to write it off in order to get rid of it off the books. But today we'll do and build a deed of debt forgiveness. My name's Professor Brett Davies. I'm a barrister at the High Court of Australia and a partner at Legal Consolidated. So here it is, deed of debt forgiveness. You can see a full sample of all our documents. All our documents come with a covering letter confirming that we, Legal Consolidated, an Australian law firm, has actually prepared the document for you or for your client if you're an accountant, financial advisor or lawyer. Be very careful dealing with websites where they're actually not a law firm, but they're reselling a template provided by a law firm. The law firms are not responsible for those documents. You should deal directly with a law firm's website. And there's the deed of debt forgiveness. And depending on how you answer the questions, the deed of debt forgiveness will look different. There's also a checklist as to questions to be asked, and there's a lot of information regarding the deed of debt forgiveness. And the most important one at the moment is the position of the Australian Taxation Office. Traditionally, a deed of debt forgiveness works on forgiving a debt for, wait for it, love and affection. And up until back in 2019, the ATO said that you can have natural love and affection between a trust and a company, or a company and a company. But now they've recanted from that position to say you don't have natural love and affection except between two human beings acting as two human beings. So if you're a trustee of a family trust, well, you can't do a deed of debt forgiveness from that perspective. You can still do a deed of debt forgiveness, but the tax position is not clear. So you should talk to your accountant about the tax position of a deed of debt forgiveness. The covering letter that you'll get with the document will go into more detail there. Does the deed of debt forgiveness also get rid of family trust unpaid present entitlements? Yes, it does. There's another way of doing it called reimbursement agreements. We are not an advocate of those. We don't believe they're the best or appropriate way of dealing with the forgiving deeds. Division 7A. Now, if the money is owed to a company, you cannot use deed of debt forgiveness because you need to use instead a Division 7A loan agreement to document the loan. You can't forgive a debt owed to a company unless you're another company itself. Stamp duty, I don't know how much the debt is for, we'll come to all those. But let's start building the document, big green button. As with all our documents, if you've built other documents on our website, you can pick up the data from them. So I could pick up the data from this enduring power of attorney or this deed of gift or the shareholders agreement. But in this case, I'll start it from scratch. Now, who's the person forgiving the debt? Let's make it a company. Oh, Professor Davies, you said companies can't forgive a debt. In this instance, the company will be acting as trustee of a family trust. So there's the company. in ACT. Now, this instance, this company DASDF Proprietary Limited is going to forgive a debt. So someone owes this company, as trustee of the family trust, some money. So let's call it the Smith Family Trust. Now, normally you press no. You don't know the amount that's being forgiven. It's normally just per the balance sheet that your accountant would have prepared. So it might be the case that there's been money borrowed over a number of years and it tallies up to a certain amount. We don't need to know that for this document. If you do know the amount and you want to put it in, then you can actually put the amount in. But normally people say no. They're just going to forgive all debt, any debt that's out there. So that's the person who is forgiving the debt. So this company is owed money. Now, who owes the money is going to be, let's say, a human. So let's make it Robert Lopez. And Robert owes the money to the company, but not as a trustee of a trust, so the answer is no. Now, let's have a look at these hints. So you see there's green ticks. If you've got green ticks, it means that we, as your Australian law firm, are happy with the answers. But let's have a look at the hints. So here is a hint on what am I getting for my money, which explains what the value of using our law firm, and there's yet another training video. Is my data saved when I press next? So every time you press next, that your information is saved indefinitely, forever. So you can come back tomorrow or in 20 years' time and pick up from where you left the document, last drafting of the document. Show me a sample of this document. There's a training video on that. Who is the person that lent the money for the deed of debt forgiveness? And that explains, for example, where the family trust lends money, where dad has lent money to a son and now wants to forgive it, or a company owing money to another company. Here's a beneficiary forgiving a loan of a family trust. So there's lots of examples here. And of course, you can always telephone us for free, and there's a chat as well. So you can always have a chat with a lawyer. There's some samples if you're lending or money's been lent by a family trust. Do I forgive some of the debt? So here you can only, you may wish only to forgive part of the debt, and beware of Division 7A. That's where the company is loaned money. Well, that's good. There's a lot of good hints there. And yet there's another group of hints here. Who was the person that's owed the money? Who was a person? And the parties are there. Family trusts, borrowers, do I forgive some of the debt? I've now answered those two questions. I'm going over to the reference page. I'm going to call it Deed of Debt Forgiveness. I'm happy with that. Select the box I want my logo on. Now, let's say I'm an accountant or a financial advisor or a lawyer. I can have the logo also appearing on this legal document. Summary. So this is where you get to check to make sure the spelling's correct of the companies and things like that. Now, if you've made a mistake, just email us. We'll send you a voucher so you can update the document for free. Now, the company name, D, it should be capital D. So I'm going to go back in and make that D. And now I'm going to go back to summary, and it's picked it up. There we go. That's DASDA for Proprietary Limited. That's the correct address. That's fine. So now I'm going to press lock and build. I'm going to put my credit card details in. And there it is. Our document's been built. Our deed of debt forgiveness has been built. Let's see what we've built. Always exciting creation of a new legal document. This is a deed. And there it is. So I can have a look at the information I put in, but I just want to see the locked PDF. Hang on, Professor Davies, why is it a locked PDF? I may want to change it. You can change it. There's no problem with that, but you need to get a voucher from us to change it. We are responsible for this document. Legal Consolidated is responsible for the document. We don't want you merely changing it because you could damage You could actually damage the document or the legality of the document. So here it is. Law firm letterhead. There's the warning about the Australian Taxation Office's new decision. Here's the law that goes through the deductibility of release of debt on the revenue account. Your accountant would want all this information so they can pair up the tax returns and things based on this deed of debt forgiveness. Capital accounts, Division 7A again, that's when the company's owed money. And here's the rules as to commercial debt forgiveness. So it goes through all the rules and regulations of deductibility. Family trust distributions are covered. Why we don't like reimbursement agreements? Well, there it is. That's our legal position, the law firm's legal position on it. There's the cases which have been applied in this letter of advice. There's the FBT, the fringe benefit tax implications of a commercial loan agreement. And we've even put in the journal entries for your accountant to be able to journal the transaction. And there's a summary. There's the deed of debt forgiveness between DAS DF Proprietary Limited and Robert Lopez, who's the person forgiving the debt. Governing laws, stamp duty, no partner. This is quite interesting. Often a deed of debt forgiveness can cause a partnership between the parties, and it's critically important that an express provision be put in the document. If you've done a deed of debt forgiveness and you don't have a no partnership clause, it can contaminate your asset protection strategies. Clause 7 deals with ensuring that there's no additional tax to be paid. So this document is to be read down at all times so as to reduce the transfer or stamp duty and also any other federal taxes that may be payable. Clause 8, you don't need to be in the same room to sign this document. It can be signed by a counterpart. So you could sign it in Sydney. I was going to say fax it across to Melbourne, but email it across to, we've just got rid of our fax machine. We haven't used it for about 8 years, so it's on my mind. You sign it in Sydney. You then scan it and email it to Melbourne. The Melbourne person signs it and scans it and sends it back to Sydney. That's it. That's called signing an agreement in or deed in counterpart. There's the correct, under the Corporations Act, signing, common seal of a company, and there's the correct signing mechanisms for an individual under Australian law. That's it. You've now built yourself a deed of debt forgiveness. If you need a hand building this document, just telephone us and we'll give you free advice on how to build a deed of debt forgiveness and also speak to your accountant on how to build a deed of debt forgiveness as required. Enjoy.